It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Coming to you live from the Billy C studios in Lake County. I'm Bill Caliger, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you listen, whenever you're watching. Hope you're doing okay today. We got a busy show scheduled for you today. But first, today's show, she's being brought to you in the part of pie. Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on beautiful St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's to get an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage, The Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can literally get a copy of it while you're watching or listening to the show. Just by going to barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. If you're looking to get a signed copy, hey, don't worry about it. Just visit our website, billycboxing.com, and click on the book. You're not going to miss it. It's all over the screen. So make sure you write down what you want me to say on it if you want it signed. So coming up a little bit coming up a little bit later, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazard scheduled to join us. And also coming up later on the show, we're going to do this week's Blast from the Past. It's a request from one of you guys, Luis Manuel Rodriguez. What a fighter he was. We'll learn about him. Today we got several topics. Hey, I want to give a shout out to WGIG in Brunswick, Georgia. Glad to be part of your programming today. As well as all of our television affiliates, and of course our YouTube audience, and we're back on simulcasting on Facebook Live. I don't know what happened with their new system, but it wasn't working correctly the last couple of days. It is kind of a funky video shot, so anybody that's watching on Facebook Live, don't forget, come on over to our YouTube stream and watch the full version of the show, the same version that goes up to the television networks, etc., etc. And as always, we do comment on the chat room that's up on BillyCBoxing.com. A couple of things we're going to be talking about today. The Triple G Canelo rematch is being negotiated, but there's some buts, and we'll talk about that. We got some fights that took place last night. But one of our big topics today, Deontay Wilder, was announced the other day. It'll be officially announced today in New York City. Deontay Wilder taking on Luis Ortiz in November from Brooklyn on Showtime. And it is a big fight for the heavyweight division. But I personally think it's the biggest fight so far for Deontay Wilder's career, and to tell you the truth, I think it's the first real fight he's going to be in. The question is he going to win it? Joining me right now from St. Simon's Island in Georgia is my man Sal Rocky Senacola. Good morning, Sal.
Good morning, Billy C. How are you today, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
You are.
The question is, how is Deontay Wilder going to be doing after he steps in the ring with Luis Ortiz on November 4th? What's your thoughts?
Well, you know, you and I, we have some core beliefs about Deontay Wilder, and I also have a little more faith in some of his abilities than I think you do. And I think Deontay Wilder, we're going to see him rise to the occasion, and I really believe that he will win this fight. I don't know in what fashion. I'd like to see how they're both approaching the training camp and what we can hear within 2 weeks of the fight. I will make a big prediction. But I do think that Deontay Wilder, knowing what's on the line and knowing and believing that he is the best of the best, he's going to let that all be evident when he goes in the ring against Ortiz. And I think he'll win the fight. I really think he'll beat Ortiz.
Well,
it's going to be a tough one. Won't be pretty.
Here's the bottom line. The only way he's going to beat Ortiz, because it's in my opinion, it's the first real fight that Deontay Wilder's in. I mean, you want to give him credit for winning a title against Berman Stavern. All right. I don't. And the reason I don't is because Berman Stavern had proved himself really a built-up fighter. And to me, it wasn't an accomplishment. The biggest accomplishment I feel that Deontay Wilder has made was his win over Artur Spitska. I like that fight, and I give Deontay Wilder credit. Now, jumping back, Sal, to the fight with Stavern, the one thing that I enjoyed watching with Wilder in that particular fight was the game plan that he and Mark Breelan carried out to the T. It showed us that Deontay Wilder does know how to use a jab and take advantage of his arm length, and his arm reach advantage and his height advantage, which he did effectively against Stavern. But that was the only fight we've seen him do that in. Every other fight that Deontay Wilder is in, he goes for the KO. He uses, the knockout power, which he has. He's got freakish knockout power. But I don't know if it's going to be enough against Luis Ortiz. Even though Luis Ortiz would be out of the ring for a year, he's 38 years old, has been in fights where he looks good and other fights where he doesn't look that great. I think it's a big test for Wilder. And depending upon the game plan they employ, I think this could be the downfall for Wilder. I don't think he's going to win. I really don't. I think Ortiz will get up for this fight. And I think he's going to stop Deontay Wilder. But do you think he'll use his jab? I mean, or do you think he's going to try to overpower Ortiz?
I think he's going to use his jab. And let me tell you something, Bill. I know Mark Breelan, and I think he won the New York Golden Gloves about 300 times or so. And not really. And he's a great trainer. He really is. Fundamentally, he's a sound technician in the ring as well. He knows, and maybe he's going to be a better trainer than he will be a fighter. I mean, he was a good fighter, a great amateur. I don't think his professional career led him to the success that his amateur career would have led you to believe it was going. But he still knows boxing. He can assess. He can see from the outside. And as you said, there's a very special relationship between a trainer and a fighter. And if the fighter has confidence in what his trainer is instructing him to do, and if they do it and they realize what they're trying to do and how they're trying to put the arsenal together, then that's a very good combination. And if we saw that was evident in one of his big fights, then I see it's going to be evident in this fight against Ortiz. And with Mark Breeland's tutelage and their strategy to approach his style, I think we may see Deontay Wilder beat this Ortiz. And I'll bet on that. I'll bet that he's going to win. And you know what? Hey, won't be the first time I'm wrong. But I think with all the stars aligning, I think Deontay Wilder is going to put his money where his mouth is going to put rise to the occasion. And I think Ortiz, whether it's a layoff or not or whatever he's got, I think he'll give a great fight. I think it's going to be a very good fight. I think there's going to be a little ebb and flow. But you did say Deontay Wilder does have freakish knockout power. And if he boxes, he uses that jab, he opens things up. I think it's not going to be too long into the fight. Definitely by the middle rounds, we're going to see some knockish power starting to hit home and landing. That's my opinion.
Well, I'll take the bet. And the truth of the matter is that Luis Ortiz is an accomplished fighter, an extensive amateur career. And hey, listen, let's give Deontay Wilder credit. He had a successful, not an extensive amateur career, but he's had a successful amateur career, winning a bronze medal in the Olympics. But the truth of the matter is he's in there with a guy that, even at his ripe old age, and even after the delay, the delay in his last fight, he'll be a year out of the ring, and assuming that there's ring rust or whatever, even with all those factors, this is a guy that's going to give Deontay Wilder some trouble. He knows how to fight with angles. Yeah. He knows that he has to something that no one has done before. They haven't tried to get inside on Deontay Wilder and work that skinny little body. Deontay Wilder is he's a big guy height-wise, but he's not a big guy. I mean, when you see some of these heavyweights, the girth, I mean, they're big men. Deontay's not, and his chin is suspect. He's been in there where he could just let the bombs go. And I think that this Ortiz fight is going to really show us something about Wilder. Now, Wilder does pound his chest and think he's the best, which you want to see in any fighter. But giving Deontay credit, I do believe he listens to his trainer. I don't know if Mark Breelan wants him to try to outbox a guy he's supposed to take out really quickly. I think the excitement factor plays into this. But this fight right here, Wilder against Ortiz, has to be a calculated, multi-game plan type of a fight. They got to have plan A, yes, B, and C for this fight, Sal, because despite Luis Ortiz's age and his layoff, this is a real fight. I honestly believe it's the first real fight that Wilder will be in.
I agree with you, and I think it's going to be a great test for Wilder, and that's what I'm saying. I think all along this guy's been trying to keep his skills out in the public's eye, and as he's touting he wants to face everybody, I think his management team, promotional team, I think they've been very careful to do a little Walter sidestep here and there where they can, just to elongate or give him the time to catch up with himself and get the experience of facing these guys and picking the time that it's going to be right to face the other opposition. And I think now this is the first real test that he's going to have as a title holder defending his title. And like I said, I think he's going to rise to the occasion. He knows what's at stake. And plan A, B, C, I think when push comes to shove, yeah, he'll be able to take on Ortiz, and I think he's going to beat him. I think he's going to, if he wants to slow him up, he wants to get his attention, he's going to have to throw some big bombs early and hurt him and slow him down and get some respect from Ortiz. And that may be the strategy right there. I think, his jab, once he uses that and establishes it, will also be a good weapon. And, he's got to be able to hit a moving target, too, because Ortiz could move a little bit.
Yeah, he can move. Listen, it's going to be interesting to see because Deontay Wilder has put a lot of pressure on himself, pounding his chest, saying he's the best. And this fight is important for Deontay in a lot of ways. Not only for a guy like me, not only do I think it's going to be a gauge for Deontay Wilder, I believe that it helps Deontay Wilder in a bargaining situation when it comes to Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is the best heavyweight on the planet today. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Anthony Joshua is fighting Kubrat Pulev. We hope that the winners, Pulev, AJ, and then Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz will meet. So that's what I'm hoping for. But Deontay Wilder, if anything, I think he'll make it an exciting fight. I think he will fight cautious, but he's got a lot of confidence in himself. And that could lead to mistakes. So there's a lot of interesting side plots for this fight. And here the one thing I'm going to say is that fighters today, it's not really the fighters. It's their management, it's their promoters, etc. They are safety first. They want to handpick opponents. They want to build up that record. They want to build up value in the fighters, and I get it. I understand. But this is a case, Sal, where this could really hurt Deontay Wilder because he has not increased his level of opposition in his last several fights. He just has not. And he's looked ordinary at best. Yes, he's won by knockout in exciting fashion. Yeah, he's done that. You can't deny that. But has he truly gotten better since he won the title from Stavern? I still think that was one of his best performances, even though I give more credit for the win over Spitzka. Has he gotten better? And I think that's going to be the major question here.
A fighter sometimes elevates his style, elevates his talent to the level of opposition he's going to face. There's many times where a fighter has fought a lesser fighter that should have been ordinary, that should have been an easy victory. And for whatever reason, it looked like a clumsy way to get his hand raised at the end. It's just looking into that crystal ball. I mean, boxing is boxing. On any given night, I always say this, any fighter can be beaten. You never know. But when all things are aside, black and white on paper, yeah, we pretty much go by the indicators of what's going to help us judge and predict who's going to win a fight. But like I said a lot of times, there are times when certain fighters do elevate or fight down, fight up, wherever they have to be. I think Deontay Wilder on this occasion will rise to the occasion. He knows what's on line. But boxing's all about challenging yourself and becoming the best fighter you could be.
Yeah, you're breaking up there, Sal. We had some fights last night just to get people positioned, and he's getting better and better each time out. Now, this must be an era of the draws, Sal, or at least a month of the draws, because the two other fights that were on the televised portion llast night ended in draws with some prospects. In the lightweight division, Thomas Velicuse, his record now is 9-0-1 with 5 knockouts when he and Tyrone Jones, who's now 4-2-1 with 1 knockout, fought to a 6-round draw. And in the light heavyweight division, Earl Newman, who was undefeated, he's now 10-0-1. And Paul Parker, who was only twice beaten, he's now 8-2-1 when they fought to an 8-round draw. What's in it, man? I mean, we get a draw in the big fight this past weekend. Now we got draws on prospect fights. You know, that's like one of the things we don't want to see a lot of in the sport of boxing.
No, we don't. It's funny because every time I think about that, well, we see when a football game ends in a tie, when baseball you have extra innings. They have alternative ways to arrive at a winner of a contest. Yeah, maybe with boxing, if a fight ends with a draw, they should go to additional 3 rounds. Oh, I'm sorry, they'll make it a 15-round fight. Whoa. But you think about it. Maybe that could be a new clause. Any draw after 12 rounds in a championship fight, they should go to 3 additional rounds, and bingo, that might decide it. I like that. Let's use that. Maybe.
Draws are draws. I mean, they're
involved.
I just don't like seeing them anymore, especially in the big fights. That's
what I'm saying. Why not in a big fight, Billy? That could be a thing we push for. A championship world title fight, 12 rounds, only in world championship fights when belts are on the line for the title. If there ends in a draw, like it did the other night, give them their 5-minute in between after the announcement's made, and or 15 minutes, and bam, 3 extra rounds have to fight to the 15th round. Then we have a champion. We'll see. You judge a 3-round fight. I like that. Let's see if we can get that. Have some wheels.
Well, I don't know if they'd be able to give them that much time. You don't want to fight it to cool off.
All right, 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
And the thing is half the time when they're adding up all the scorecards when they got to take their socks and shoes off to add. I mean. Listen, there should be 15-round fights to begin with. But, hey, hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I'll give you more thoughts on Deontay Wilder and his fight coming up with Luis Ortiz. It will be announced officially today in New York City.
Billy C will be right back.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and three-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be here. And Sal and I are discussing the Ortiz against Wilder fight that will be officially announced today. And Sal, we got some other fights on that card. As a matter of fact, part of the deal, because if you recall, Bermain Stavern has been the mandatory for Deontay Wilder for 9 years now. And he agreed to some step-aside money, and he's going to be fighting Dominic Breazeale on the undercard. Now, Breazeale is a fighter that, I give him a lot of credit. I mean, this guy has been in a little tougher than normal. He's a big guy, not extremely talented in my opinion, but he can take a punch. He's got a chin of granite, and I think he's going to beat Stavern. And also scheduled for that card is rumor that Daniel Jacobs will return. They are looking for a TBA. We heard our man Cutman Rella saying that he'll be in the corner. So I'm looking forward to Daniel Jacobs on that card. And that it sounds like a really good card. Heavyweight title fight, a heavyweight elimination between Stavern and Breazeale, and, of course, the return of Daniel Jacobs. Your thoughts?
I think it's great. And that's what the cards used to have. I remember in the 70s and 80s, that's what we used to have. Title elimination fights before the main event, championship fight, this big significant fight. That's the key. There were significant undercard fights. They weren't just, we're going to put this guy in here to fill up some time with this guy. So I think that's a great card. And I can't wait to see Daniel Jacobs back in action, along with Mike Rella.
Yeah, well, hopefully, that Mike Rell is the kind of guy you don't want to see much because
no, you don't want to see.
If you've seen a lot of him, if you've seen a lot of him on the screen, that means somebody's a bloody mess, So no offense, Mike, we love you, but we don't want to see you, But hey, there's been some discussions on the rematch, Triple G Canelo. And, yesterday I mapped out what I thought Triple G should do. And some of the comments made by Triple G's promoter and stuff, they're going down the same path I don't think they should. First and foremost, the rematch clause that was in the contract for the first fight already spells out the conditions of the second fight. So Triple G has already signed off on some stuff, which I got a problem with. I don't think he should make all the concessions. The other issue is that Alvarez refuses to fight before May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. I think that's in Canelo's favor 100%. Now, according to Team Triple G, they are okay with that fight. But they make another, with that date, they make another statement. They said, if we can't get this signed, sealed, and delivered quickly, then we're going to look at another option. And what's that other option? Miguel Cotto. But here's the part that I don't like. Miguel Cotto has made the announcement that he's going to fight on December 2nd. And that will be officially his last fight. He's going to retire. So once again, Triple G's team is saying, well, if we can't get the Canelo rematch signed, sealed, and delivered for May 5th, then we're going to take Cotto on December 2nd. But it sounds to me that they're already making the concessions to fight under Cotto's demands. Why does Triple G have to conform? At this stage of the game, shouldn't Triple G be making the decisions and say, screw you to anybody else that doesn't want it? I mean, Triple G doesn't need a rematch with Canelo, in my opinion, and he certainly doesn't need a fight with Cotto. He could go after Billy Joe Saunders, who's technically called him out 100 times. I mean, I don't understand it. What's your thoughts on Triple G seemingly, making any concession with both these fighters, Canelo or Cotto?
Well, like we were just saying last week going into the fight, unless this is part of what he uses as fuel to inspire him to have a controlled rage attitude with, I'll show these guys, I got this, I got that, I'm going to come in there and I'm going to take it from their own backyard. I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but the bottom line is he should not have to. He's in a driver's seat. These guys need him more so or equally or more so than he needs them. And the bottom line is I don't see what significant value a Miguel Cotto fight would be. I see a better opportunity for getting the other belt with the other guy, Billy Joe Saunders. And that might be a good way to do it. If they're going to wait till Cinco de Mayo, which is going to be over 6 months from now, they should definitely maybe consider fighting in the new year or the end of the year, Billy Joe Saunders, and unify and get every one of the belts. Then when they face Canelo, that'll be a big fight. I mean, it'll be a big fight no matter what, but he'll have that extra belt to put on the line. I don't know, Bill. It's a little sour. He shouldn't have to make all these concessions. Like I said, unless he uses that as fuel for his fire. I don't know.
Listen, I've been a promoter, a manager, advisor, et cetera. I've done many contracts, and let's just say this. Yes, there was a rematch clause in effect. But at this stage of the game, it's called making an amendment to the contract. And if I'm Team Triple G, I say, well, look, I want the rematch. I'll give you the date. We'll give you the date. But here's going to be some changes. Number one, you're going out there first. You're getting announced first. I'm getting just as much of a purse as you are, if not more. I mean, all of the concessions that were made, for Canelo, he cannot be given that freedom again. Because let's be real. Triple G, like you always say, rose to the occasion for this fight, despite being older, despite not looking great in his last several fights. He rose to the occasion and fought a good fight, and for all intent purposes, won the fight.
He won that fight.
7, 8. You're talking 9 months from now, right? You're talking what is it? October, November, December. 9 months from now. Eight or 9 months. 8 months. Whatever.
Too long.
From now. 8 months is a long time on a 35-year-old body who's not going to be working out, who's going to be taking some time off. And I think that is a huge, huge benefit for Canelo. And again, we're going into this fight, Sal, with Triple G, and I'm going to say it again, needing a knockout to win this fight. We said it before the last fight. I said, and you could go back and look at the titles of our show, I said, can Triple G win a decision in Vegas? And I said no. I didn't think he could, and he didn't. He got a draw. So I mean, it's a joke. It's a complete joke, and Triple G needs to look at it like this. He's got to be the guy in the driver's seat, and if Canelo says no, move on, because I don't think he needs the rematch. I want to see it, Sal. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he needs it.
I think he needs it for himself. But like I said, you know what? If he can't get Canelo before May 5th, which I think is ludicrous. I mean, this fight should be taking place within 6 months. Easy, within 6 months. 4 to 6 months is ample time to prepare, to have your break, to do what you got to do, and to get back into the ring. But if it's going to be longer, yes, it is going to be in favor of Canelo Alvarez, who is younger and he's more durable. He's got more recuperative powers and skill right there, or ability, I should say. And in the meantime, Triple G shouldn't waste any time with Miguel Cotto. He should go after Billy Joe Saunders, get that belt, and say, okay, here I am. Now let's do it.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
Exactly. I agree with that, Sal. And the thing is he doesn't need Canelo, because Canelo, everybody except Canelo's team knows that Canelo lost the fight. I mean, nobody thinks that Canelo won that fight. I don't care what the Adley Bird says. But the truth of the matter is if I'm Triple G, I go after Billy Joe Saunders, even though he'll overprice himself. Grab that last belt, even though the belts don't mean crap. Grab the last belt, and then say, okay. And he could do that in December, right? Stay sharp.
Absolutely.
Stay sharp. Stay fighting. And then if he wants to fight Canelo, and Team Triple G says we don't want to take a chance, an injury, a cut, which makes sense. But then if Canelo really wants him, calls him out, then Triple G says, hey, I want to retire. He could pull a Mayweather. I want to retire as the undisputed champion. But if you want to fight me, here's the deal. You're going to do this, this, and this. And if not, then fine. Walk away as the undisputed champ. And, Canelo will always be kicking himself in the ass for basically being a douche. I'm going to use one of Alex's words, a douche, and not take the fight. But don't you think?
I think minus the Alex word, I think it says it all. I think, hey, guess what? Triple G won that fight. I don't care what Adelaide Bird said, who's for the Birds. I would never want to see her in a position of judging a significant big fight like that again.
It's the old song, Bird, Bird, Bird. Bird is the word.
It's bird is a bird.
Yeah.
Bird. I know.
No, but you're right, man. Is 100% correct on that, and I don't see any other thing that they should even be considering for that fight. To be honest with you. And speaking of Adley Bird, we gotta kick you to the curb here for a second. But speaking of Adley Bird, according to reports differing from yesterday's reports, Bob Bennett says that no reprimand has been done. He also spoke again. This guy is such a clown. He's a gutless, spineless piece of Did I ever mention that I thought that Bob Bennett was a gutless, spineless piece of garbage? Did I ever mention that to you?
And a hypocrite?
Yeah, he is a hypocrite too. But he said, and I quote, concerning Adley Bird, she feels terrible that she saw it. Listen. But you know how somebody, they don't admit something? Listen to this. She feels terrible that she saw it differently from the other two judges. She explained what she saw and how and why she feels shattered. And he also is very upset with Teddy Atlas, saying that she's corrupt. And he said, Adelie is a woman of integrity and a judge many people around the world request for. Yeah, I could see why they request for her, Sal.
Oh, yeah.
You put a couple of extra bucks.
I'm going to request this too.
Put a couple of extra bucks in her pocket, and she'll pre-fill out the scorecard like she did Saturday night. But anyway, hey, Sal, we're going to kick you to the curb, go to the bathroom, get some coffee, listen to my man Alex when we do the blast, and of course Larry Hazard coming up now, and we'll answer your question later. What is it important? I'm over my time limit.
I just want to say, I just want to say to our affiliate GIG 1440 and the program director down there and radio talk show celebrity host Scott Rifen. It's his birthday today, so I want to wish Scott Rifen and 1440 WGIG in Brunswick a very happy birthday, Scott.
You had to do that now? You couldn't do that? You couldn't do that a couple of minutes from now? I mean, come on. Okay. Happy birthday,
well, it's on
Scott.
my mind now. You know how us fighters think. You know, we got to get it out there when we got it. Otherwise I can't remember later.
Hey, happy birthday, Scott. You don't look a day over 30. So, hey, listen, Sal, we'll talk to you in a little bit. And we're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we're scheduled to have my man Larry Hazard join us. Don't go nowhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretch in
You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. from upstate New York and the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, talking boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking of being with us, joining me right now, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner, my main man, Larry Hazard. And it looks like neither one of us are collecting a dinner after that fight, huh?
No, don't look that way, Billy.
well, they're talking rematch, but listen, let's talk about the fight. I mean, we had some time to digest it and everything else. The time didn't heal me much, to be honest with you, Larry. I felt, a close fight is a close fight. I was talking to several people, and I look at it this way: if Adelie Bird scored the fight, even if she scored the fight for Canelo 115, 113, or even if she went and scored it 116, 112, the way I scored it for Triple G and the way you had it and Letterman had it, I don't think the outrage would have been as much. But the simple fact that she scored at 118, 110, I think that really drew the criticisms. What's your thoughts?
No, you're absolutely right in that respect. If she had not, I think the issue is not who she picked. Even though I don't think the fight was close, I think that Triple G clearly won the fight. But I guess the overall consensus was that the fight was close. And that's what really kind of gets the guy with the draw off the hook for most people, not for me. Okay, because I think the guy who scored the draw is just as lopsided as Adelie was. But I really think that had it not been for such a wide margin, you wouldn't have such an uproar. So I think that's clearly what it is. It's the margin, which, kind of highlights what were you looking at. You know what I mean? If she had scored it a little closer, even if she had given it to Canelo, I don't think there would be that much of an uproar. So I agree with you 100% there.
All right.
It's the margin. It's the margin.
I'm going to throw some. These are all going to be great questions for you with the commissioner hat on. All right.
Yes.
Yes. Now, here's the thing. Keeping in mind that the judges are at different locations. And another thing that I noticed when I rewatched the fight, that most of this fight was fought if from the TV view. So if you're sitting on the couch watching the fight, from the left side of the TV screen. So depending upon where the camera was, I don't know what side of the ring that was in the venue, but from television, most of the fight was fought on the left side. A majority of the fight. I mean, it was fought in all four corners, but most of it was fought, at least the way I saw it, on the left side.
Agreed.
Does that make, because the judges are at different locations, does that make any, I don't want to use the word excuse, but I'm going to use it, an excuse for one judge being out of whack than the other two, in a sense, because of the location that they may be sitting at?
It seems that way because you hit on another very critical point. It seems to be that way because I've heard that so many times. As you might recall, there was another situation similar to this, similar in the uproar. Okay, not similar in the wrong fighter winning, quote unquote, but the uproar. Okay. Evander Holyfield when he fought Lennox Lewis, if you can go back to that. Okay, unfortunately, there was another female judge who actually had to endure the same type of wrath that this one is enduring in that particular fight. And one of the issues that was highlighted in that fight was, and she said that she, the angle, she couldn't see. She couldn't see a lot of stuff that perhaps the other judges saw, and that was one of her reasoning. That was one of the reasons that she felt that the position where she was sitting, she felt that Holyfield or whomever she scored the fight for, her score was off, and of course she had to endure the wrath of the public the same way that this young lady, Adelaide Bird, is going through. So I've heard that many times, Billy. Even in seminars, I've heard judges voice that concern.
With technology, I know you're not going to like this question, but it may be time. Live sporting events, in my opinion, there's nothing like seeing a live boxing event. There's things at a live boxing event that you just can't feel and put your finger on when you watch it on TV. I don't care how big of a screen you're watching it on, what kind of a high definition. I mean, especially ringside, when you're sitting and you're hearing the punches, you're seeing the face expressions on the fighters. I mean, there's nothing like it. There's no other sport. I can watch football all day long on my couch and love the replays and everything else. But boxing, I don't feel that I get the full impact unless I'm ringside. With that said, and with the advent of the technology and stuff, and because of these kinds of problems that seem to be popping up more often than not, is it time to consider moving the judges away from ringside, putting them in a room where they have ISO cameras, where they're going to look at the same same camera shot, pull out the commentators so that they can't hear their loud mouths and their biased opinion, remove the fan cheering when a punch doesn't land, and let them, in a sense, judge a fight, just them and the fight. Is it time to make that move?
Well, you're man. How's that go? Great minds think alike. We've experimented with that with MMA. We've already had some experimental runs with that, and as we speak, Billy, I'm drawing up some blueprints here on some issues and some new innovations based on what occurred last week. It's time for action, and I think that's what we're paid to do as administrators. I do not believe, with all of the hoopla, with all of the the commentators and the tirades that we've witnessed this weekend after that decision, I really don't buy into this corruption stuff that's being thrown out there, and this dishonesty and attacking this woman or any judge's integrity on these situations, because we've seen boxing judging needs fixing, and because it's such a subjective task, we have to do other things to help people get better. And so I think that's what the boxing commissions, the administrators, I think that's what they're paid to do. And that's what I'm dealing with, and that's what I'm dead on it. And there's going to be some announcements coming out of New Jersey very, very soon on our efforts to try to fix this issue. As you know, several years ago, Billy, we created a system for scoring, the majority, 10-point majority scoring system, where we would throw out the odd judge. For instance, round one, when the scores came over to the scorekeeper, if Billy C. had Canelo 10-9, Larry Hazard had Canelo 10-9, and Dax Khan had Triple G 10-9, then Triple G's score would go out and Canelo would get round one. You follow me?
Yeah.
And that system, believe it or not, it was working very well for us. You know, but you know what happens, all of a sudden, you know, you get a little glitch along the way, and then it's no good anymore. And that's what happened in a fight. I think it was Lou Duva had a fight in which I think at the end of the fight, his fighter who lost actually had more points. So what happened is that I think we had something good there that just needed some fine-tuning, but we said, well, what the hell, let's just go back to the old way. But we tried to do something. And so we're going to try something again. Like I said, we've already experimented with MMA, with having the 3 judges sitting at ringside, but we also had a monitor in the back, and we had judges back there scoring the fight. So, you know, we've collected some data on that, but we're ready to try something new with boxing, which you're going to know about very, very soon. And we hope that it's well received, but, you know, you're always going to have people that are going to take a negative approach, but, you know, you have to overlook that. We have to constantly try to make things better, because I don't believe that judges are corrupt. I really don't think that, you know, this woman, Adelaide Bird. I really don't believe. I don't think that.
That's Teddy Atlas. That's Teddy Atlas trying to get camera time. And the problem I have with Teddy, I mean, obviously he knows the sport, but you know, Teddy is right, and nobody else is right. Teddy's opinion, he's right. You know, if it's raining out, and you and I say it's raining out, and Teddy says no, then you and I are corrupt for saying, collaborating and saying it's raining when we both got umbrellas out. You know, so
and then you know he overpowers other people with his dramatics and all of that other stuff. And then this Stephen A. Smith guy who doesn't know dog shit about the sport of boxing.
He doesn't. And you know, I don't understand. I don't know, you know, it's so obvious too. I mean, it's sad, but you know, it's like what you said with your scoring change. Instead of trying to improve something, everybody's ready to throw it away, you know. But you know, you hit on something that was the next question. You know, Adelaide Bird is being crucified and everything else, right? And, you know, we're looking at possible reasons why and avoiding the corruption thing. You know, it's something I've been saying, and, you know, I've thrown a lot of ideas I have for this sport at you, of course, and safety issues, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things is that everybody that follows the sport, most of them could, turn around and tell you what all the judging criteria is. They could recite the judging criteria. But I think that the biggest problem with the criteria isn't the criteria itself. It's that there's no fixed order in which that criteria is judged. So in other words, if Adelaide Bird, and I'm just saying this as an example, I don't know this as a fact, but if Adelaide Bird, for example, doesn't put much value in a jab, and I'm not talking about a paw jab. I'm talking about a jab that
I know where you're going.
It lands square in your face. A jab that's rebooting a fighter's a game plan, which was the case on Saturday night with Triple G. She doesn't put value in that on her scorecard, and she only scores a fighter that lands a hard punch. You could almost see that her scorecard would be different. Doesn't it make sense to turn around and say, okay, judges, this is the order. You know, the first one is X, the second one is X, you know, and go down the line so that maybe it would even up these scorecards. Is there anything along those lines that makes sense?
Absolutely. And we just had a seminar last week, Billy, and I could swear, hey, I don't know where you're coming up with all of this stuff, but it's almost like you got a script from what we did. Because I had several, matter of fact, one of the judges, who was kind of like a leader in the seminar, he basically was saying the exact same thing. And he took it a step further to say that clean, effective punching should be number one on the hit parade, okay, in scoring as it relates to the criteria, because he rationalized that by saying if a fighter is able to deliver the more effective blows, the more cleaner punches, then all of the other stuff kind of goes along with that. He has to be utilizing the ring in a more superior fashion than his opponent in order to be able to do that. So that makes him the ring general. Okay, that's certainly effective aggressiveness. So he was trying to show how when you're delivering clean, effective punches, all of the other criteria goes in your column just from that alone, and that's why that particular criteria should carry more weight than any of the others. And of course, you know that these includes also punches to the body, okay? And if a fighter is able to evade his opponent, you know, all of this stuff comes into play. So what you're saying is absolutely correct. There has to be a chronological order to this criteria. The criteria, in my opinion, is good. Okay, it's good. But overall, there has to be a chronological or an order to this criteria in terms of how you're evaluating that fighter's performance. And the fighter who actually scores the cleaner, more effective punches should be awarded the round.
Now, as a commissioner, if you look at a fight like this and you have one judge that's, you know, sticking out like a sore thumb like Ms. Bird is in this case, you know, isn't it difficult for a guy in your position to say, hey, you know, Bird, you were wrong, you were this, you were that, and without sounding like Teddy Atlas? Because the truth of the matter is boxing is subjective. You and I can watch the same punch sitting right next to each other, and you could poke me and say, man, was that a good shot landed or what? And I could look at you like you got two heads and go, what do you mean? He grazed him. He moved out of the way. That wasn't a solid punch. And both feel adamant that we're correct. So from a commissioner standpoint, you know, being in charge of your judges, how do you address something like that when subjectivity is a major player in that?
Well, you try to use the power of convincing the individual. You definitely have to come in now. Okay? If I were Bob Bennett, I would bring Adelaide Bird in, and I would also bring in 2 or 3 of her colleagues who would be willing to do it. People who I consider to be good judges, and of course, judges who have been lucky enough, I guess I can use the word lucky enough, to avoid any major controversies over a long period of time. Okay? I would bring them in because this is about educating people and helping your colleagues. Okay? This is about teamwork. And this is what a leader or a commissioner should always try to foster among the people he's leading. And I have done this in the past, but this is what I would do. I would bring her in, and then we would review that fight round by round, okay, with her scorecard, okay, and give her an opportunity to turn off the sound, give her an opportunity to explain why she scored a particular rounds a certain way, okay, and how you ended up with only giving this fighter 2 rounds out of 12, and, you know, a fighter who everybody thought won the fight. And I think that's what she needs. That's what she needs, and that's what I hope Bob Bennett will do. You know, and I've been kind of vacillating, you know, with that thought of maybe giving him a phone call, you know, because that, you know, we have talked from time to time, giving him a phone call and giving him a suggestion, because they're in trouble right now,
yes,
so to speak.
They are
with this issue.
They are.
You know,
he's in trouble. He's lost control. I don't want to get you know, especially with you on the line. I don't want to get into my true feelings about him. I think that he has lost it, and it really was evident in the Mayweather, approving Mayweather and McGregor. I just, I don't have anything against the fight. I just don't think it should have been approved as a real fight. And his reasonings, and then now this, and whatever. But one last thing, and I appreciate all your opinions and thoughts on the judging aspect, which has made so much news. But from the rematch perspective, they're talking about a rematch. And it was announced that that the rematch clause in the contract is already mapped out. It's the concessions are already in there and everything. As a fighter, Triple G seems to make concessions more than he should. I think that people could criticize him all the way up until Saturday, and then at this point in time, I don't think Triple G needs Canelo. I think that it's time to rip up that contract, make a new one, or have Triple G go in another direction, like maybe fight that last guy with the last belt, Billy Joe Saunders, and walk away. I mean, he's got enough money. What's your thoughts on the rematch, and do they have it in Vegas again, and does he get a fair shake? I mean, what's your quick thoughts on a possible rematch, which they're talking about, by the way, for May? So you're talking another 8 months from now. Yeah,
well, I think that he will. I think that he should have a rematch because it falls right in. This is what the fans want. And I think that the fans deserve to see him do it again. But you know what? The thing about a rematch now, the problem with the judging in the rematch is that subconsciously, I hope they don't get some judges who feel that Triple G was robbed the first time, so now they're going to go overboard, to score the rounds in his favor. It's almost like Canelo wouldn't have a chance going in. You know what I mean? That would be twice as bad.
Like they did to Manny Pacquiao against Timothy Bradley in the first fight.
Yes.
It seemed like they were mad. Remember, there was some stories that came out that the judges and the commission was mad that he was in the locker room watching the basketball game before he came out.
Right.
Right. I mean, it shouldn't even be an issue. I mean, that should have no bearing on what they're judging. But anyway,
it shouldn't. But you're dealing with human beings, and of course, nobody wants to be criticized and all of the other stuff. And I think that has done a little bit of harm to it. But I do, to get back to your question, I do think that there should be a rematch because traditionally in boxing, that's the way it's been.
Right.
And even though Triple G, didn't get the decision, I'm sure he cried all the way to the bank on Monday morning.
Exactly. And he's gonna cry for the second trip when all the pay-per-view numbers come in,
So there you go. I mean, that is a part of the game. That's been a part of our sport. But we should get it right, But, historically, the rematch should come. The people want it. And so I think the fans really do deserve it. Because we do have to look out for the fans also, Billy.
Yeah, it's a big fight, and you're right. And I hope it happens, and I hope that Triple G makes some adjustments with the contract. Hey, I got 1 minute. I want to ask you, Luis Ortiz is challenging Deontay Wilder. Finally,
yes.
In my opinion,
yes.
Deontay Wilder stepping up. I people are being critical of me, but I honestly believe that this is his first real fight. And even though Luis Ortiz has, 38 years old, he'll have been out of the ring for a year, I still think it poses a big test. And I think a lot of it will fall on how much Mark Breelan can get Deontay Wilder to follow a similar game plan that he had against Deverne. What's your thoughts real quick on the fight itself? Is it a fight you're looking forward to?
Yes, I am, for all of the above. Okay, I think also that this Deverne was a little bit of a test, but I think this is a bigger test. Okay, and even though, he's 38 years old, I think that he's going to be up for it. And this is a test for Wilder. And again, you know how I felt about Breelan being in the corner. I think that he's a very good up-and-coming trainer. And if Wilder starts listening to him, starts using that jab like he was doing, coming out of the blocks, I think that we might get a chance to see a talented fighter in Wilder. So I'm looking forward to it. Yes, and I'm not going to let this fight Saturday, tarnish boxing, because we still had a very enjoyable fight. I mean, come on, and I'm not going to let the decision get in the way. Okay, boxing is not corrupt. Teddy, cut it out, Teddy, because much of what you have today you got from this quote-unquote corrupt sport.
You know what makes me laugh about Teddy? When he's training a fighter, he does exactly what he's criticizing all the other trainers for doing. Right. He hands his fighters cupcakes, and it's okay for his fighter. But when somebody else, they should be, the guy is 3-0. He should be in a knockout, drag-out, killer fight.
Absolutely.
It's comical. It's comical. But hey, Larry, I appreciate your time and your insight. Immensely. You know that, and good luck with your stuff on the stove, because we hope that all of that comes to pass. And
you're going to be the first to know. Well, I'm going to send it to you.
Sounds good, my man. And hey, throw in my safety idea too. I think we should get that done. I think that all the commissions should agree on that. Anyway, good luck with that, and we'll look forward to you next week, brother.
Okay, Billy. Okay, buddy.
You have a good one, man. Take care.
Okay.
That's my man, Larry Hazard, giving us his thoughts on some of the judging issues that has been mainstream topic at Elite Bird, and what the state of New Jersey would have done. And as usual, Larry's right on point. But hey, listen, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I will be doing our blast from the past with my man Alex Papali. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and 3-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now, because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor, to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And right now it's time for one of our favorite segments of the show, our Blast from the Past. And this week's Blast from the Past, which is being brought to us by KOFantasyBoxing.com. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And the Title Bout Championship computer game. Download yourself a copy right now by visiting our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and clicking on the Title Bout banner. Features a fighter that was requested to us by one of you guys, a viewer and a listener. And I got to be honest when I tell you that I totally forgot all about Luis Manuel Rodriguez. And I was very glad that we got to do it on him. And when I say we, join him in right now to tell us all about Luis Manuel Rodriguez is my man, Alex Perpali. What's up, Alex?
Good morning. Hey, how are you?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. Luis Manuel Rodriguez. Did you forget this guy like I did, or was I the only idiot that did?
I really don't know too much about him, and I still don't. But hopefully that'll make for a decent blast. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen him fight. There are a few clips on YouTube. This was a big the era when he fought from 57 to 72 was a big TV era for boxing. But he it could be one of the things I was reading. I think it was on Cyber Boxing Zone, was saying how I think one of the things that sort of he suffered for was he came around right at the same time as Emil Griffith. The two of them matched up very well. Their fights were very competitive, very close fights, but they were a little dull to watch. They were both, very slick boxers. So I think that maybe because he lost 3 out of the 4 with Griffith, if he had won more, maybe one more against him, maybe we'd be a little more aware of his name. But yeah, I mean, it is a little surprising because he was trained by Angelo Dundee. He definitely had an influence on a young Cassius Clay. They used to hang out together because he trained in Miami at Dundee's gym, and I guess it's from what I read, he sounds like he was really funny. He was a jokester.
When you look at the big names on his resume, beginning with Curtis Cokes and Joey Jambria and Denny Moyer, who was a tough guy, Holly Mims, Hurricane Carter, Georgie Benton, Benny Briscoe, Nino Benvenuti, and then, of course, his nemesis, Emil Griffith. Those are some big names in the sport of boxing that this guy fought. And not only did he fight them, he fought them multiple times, every one of them, And, he was a talented Cuban fighter that, you're right, he was on TV a lot. And maybe people, remember him coming up on the wrong side. But, when you look at him and the Hall of Fame, he was inducted early in the Hall of Fame, which gives you an indication of how good he was. I mean, he was inducted in 1997. And usually when you see those guys in those first couple of years of the Hall of Fame, you got to say to yourself, hey, they were exceptional fighters to be inducted so quickly.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good point, and I think that it shows how the sport members of the sport itself definitely respected him and thought of him highly. But yeah, just to start off, the traditional way, Luis Manuel Rodriguez, his nickname was El Feo, which means the ugly. He was born June 17th, 1937 in, I believe this is it, Camagüey, Cuba. And although there is a note here, some sources say March 14th, 37, so whatever. He grew up in Cuba, and when he came to the U.S., he started fighting in Cuba And when he came to the U.S. to fight Virgil Akins in June of 1959, that fight was in Miami Beach, Florida. He came here, and he never went back to Cuba. So he defected. This was the time where Castro was rising to power, so there was a lot of dissidents fleeing Cuba. One of the things that was interesting, and I couldn't find the actual date of it, of which hijacking it was, but he was actually on a plane that was hijacked and brought to Cuba during the right after the Bay of Pigs. I think this was in '61. There was a Cuban hijacking. There was a couple of them in the '60s, and on one of them, like I said, I couldn't find which one it was, or I'd mentioned which date. But one of them that the plane was routed to Cuba, Luis Manuel Rodriguez was on that plane. Yeah, he was a funny guy. One of the things they said about his style was he was a long-armed pogo stick. He fought in machine gun bursts of punches, and he was one of boxing's happy warriors. And like I said, they called him the Ugly. One of the reasons was he had this really big, broad nose, and the way one writer, John Hall of I can't even read. Oh, the Los Angeles Times. They print the name of the newspaper so small I can barely read it. But he called him the welterweight with a heavyweight's nose.
He was an extremely talented fighter, and I mean, he threw lots of punches. He was considered a very busy fighter. But one of the things that made him special, at least in my opinion, was that every time he threw punches, he threw combinations, which is something that a lot of times today when we look at fighters, we're like, oh, God, he's got to throw more combos. He's throwing one punch at a time and this and that. And Rodriguez was a guy that threw combos on a regular basis. And he was a great defensive fighter, too. He was hard to hit. He was, not the tallest of tall guys. I mean, he was only 5'8". But he was a talented fighter, a sweet science. I mean, we're always a lot of young fans today have the misconception of what the definition of the sweet science is, and a lot of people look at Floyd, what's his name, and they say, oh yeah, he's sweet science. Well, not really, because my opinion, sweet science, yeah, you want to hit and not get hit, but still be in position to inflict damage on your opponent. And that's something Luis Manuel Rodriguez did on a regular basis. And so much so that you could contribute the fights that he did not come out with the W because he was willing to exchange.
Right, he did get stopped a couple of times, and you're right. Maybe it was because he was dancing too close to the fire there. Isn't that a Garth Brooks song? Anyway, I think that
that I wouldn't know.
Hey, I went to school in Maine.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, like I said, he was funny, and one of the I always love when you find an article that gives you a little slice of the person, because it's one thing to just go through their stats and say, yeah, he won this fight, he scored a knockout, whatever. But to really get a feel of them, it's always fun to find an article where there's some good quotes and stuff. And this John Hall article, like I mentioned, had some good stuff. Like he didn't mind the nickname. He said, "What can I do? I know they love me." And he used to play with some of the heavyweights in the gym. Mike Dijon, who was a big heavyweight, I believe out of Miami. He was training there in Dundee's gym. He used to play with him, and he would say, how big he is. And he said, you know how big he is? Well, one day in the gym in Miami, I will walk over to Big Mike, and I will say, Mike, you better go home. And he'll say, why? I say, don't ask questions, you go home. And he'll say, Louie, stop bugging me. What are you talking about? And I say, Mike, you can't stay. They have no more peanuts for the elephants.
Yeah, he's lucky he didn't get a slap in the face, right?
I know, especially from a heavyweight. And I guess he loved watching. He was a terrific dancer. I mean, this guy was born in the wrong era because evidently he was a terrific dancer. He was like Fred Astaire, they said. He even made up a dance step. I don't know if he made it up, but he said he first started doing the buttered beats, which is, I guess it was supposed to be a dance move similar to the mashed potatoes. But one of the things he loved to do was watch boxing because on TV because you'd always learn something. And I mean, that's one of the things that's cool. You know, a lot of people today, they walk around thinking of themselves as TBE. They don't think they have to learn anything. Everybody can learn something. And one of the things he said is he never, he likes to copy things, but I never copied the way Gene Fullmer boxes or the way Patterson takes a punch.
I think it's called mashed potato. I don't think the dance is called the mashed potatoes, but I don't know. That's a little before my era too. But hey, Emil Griffith. When you look at Rodriguez's resume, Alex, and I had mentioned briefly some of the big names on his resume. He did have a 16-year career, beginning in '56, going all the way pretty much consistently through his last fight in 1972. Emil Griffith seemed to be his nemesis. Do you have any opinions why? I mean, Emil Griffith, no disrespect to him, he was a great fighter, and maybe he just had Rodriguez's number. It's something that we've talked about many times on this show about fighters just having another fighter's number. Was that the case with Rodriguez and Emil Griffith?
Well, I think to some degree, but I think in their first fight, Griffith almost stopped him in the first round, had him hurt, had him reeling. But then by the end, some of the writers at ringside thought that Rodriguez deserved the decision. So that fight was close. And then the other ones were all decisions as well. Griffith won 3 out of 4. So, yeah, I think that was one of those things where because their styles were sort of similar, they're both slick boxers, they, matched up well. I mean, I guess, I don't know if I could think of a modern corollary, maybe Buddy McGirt and Pernell Whitaker. I don't know. But I believe a couple of them are on YouTube. I did not watch the whole fight, so I don't know, what they look like specifically. So I can't comment further than that.
Well, the 3 of the 4, the one that he won is where he won the title, and they were the other fights were close enough where split decision wins and stuff like that. Where, like you said, the fan base felt that he won the fight. It justified a rematch. And you wonder if
the second one he won the title, and then he had, and this is another reason why perhaps he's not remembered as much as other fighters, is that he had the unfortunate distinction of only being welterweight champion for 47 days. He beat Emil Griffith by decision, 15-round decision in '63 in March, and then they rematched just a few months later in June, and like you said, Griffith beat him then.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the decision wins that Emil had over him were extremely close. They were all close fights, which warranted a rematch. And that's something that we don't see as often. We're discussing the possibility of a rematch between Triple G and Canelo, and some people are for it, some people are against it. Floyd Mayweather made a career of not wanting to give rematches. I see fans say, "Oh, we don't need to see a rematch. The first fight was enough." And it makes me wonder, because when you go back in time, and quite honestly, this isn't that far back. I mean, he fought through 1972. It was a regular occurrence for these guys to fight rematches, especially if it was a close or controversial fight. They would have no problems fighting multiple times, and that's definitely the era that Luis Manuel Rodriguez fought in.
Absolutely. And like you said, just if you go through his record, in terms of Hall of Famers, the ones I counted on his record, I counted 3. Like we mentioned, Emil Griffith, he was 1-3 against Griffith. against Curtis Coates, another Hall of Famer. He was 1-1 against him. Against Nino Benvenuti, he was 0-1 against him. He was doing pretty well in that fight when he was knocked out. And then he had these other guys, 4 other badasses who are not in the Hall of Fame yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if at some point some of these guys get in there. One, he had a KO win over Georgie Benton, who was a great Philly fighter who became a great trainer. He had 2 10-round decision victories over Benny Briscoe. He had 2 decision victories over Ruben Hurricane Carter. And he had 2 decisions over a young and dangerous Benny Kid Perrette. So, and then, like you said, he also had fights with Denny Moyer, Joey Jambra. Holly Mims. He fought a lot of guys that are not in the Hall of Fame yet, but they're certainly considered very highly.
Is Holly Mims in the Hall of Fame?
I didn't think so.
No,
he's not.
He's not. I think he's been. I think he's close. A lot of people feel that he should be in, and I could have sworn Georgie Benton was.
I thought maybe he is as a trainer.
As a trainer, maybe he is as a trainer. Maybe he is as a trainer.
Right, because he's not listed here on the fighters.
Well,
and neither is Benny Briscoe, which I'm a little surprised. But he was a terrific contender, but he never became a champ.
No, well, I mean, I guess with all the titles now, I guess they look at it like you got to be. But, he fought... I
think at some point some of these guys might get in because, sometimes we have a thin year, one of those guys that gets traditionally a lot of votes every year, but not enough. He might go ahead on a year that's as a little light.
He also beat Rafael Gutierrez, which is another good fighter. But he fought for a world title in the last time against Nino Benvenuti in 1969 and was stopped. One of the only 3 times he was stopped. He fought 121 fights. I mean, so being stopped 3 times is pretty impressive. He did continue with his career for another several years. And then after the fight with Benvenuti, he did fight a couple of tough opponents. Bobby Cassidy was one. Bobby Cassidy, not that he's a household name, but he is. I believe he was inducted into the New York Boxing Hall of Fame or one of the states. I'm pretty sure it was New York. And he also fought Davey Hilton in 1971 and beat him. So he got a couple of wins over those guys. But his last 2 fights were against up and comers, and it seemed that Rodriguez did not want that distinction of being a gatekeeper, and he walked away. But that's where it goes blank for me, Alex. What happened after his last fight in 1972? Because he died at a fairly young age, at 59 years old in 1996. Where did he go after his last fight for those remaining years of his life?
Unfortunately, I do not know. In terms of where, his obituaries, a couple of them said he did continue living in Miami, but in terms of what he did, I don't know. He died at a really young age. He was only 59. He did get married, and he had a son, and they survived him. He died in Miami Beach at South Shore Hospital. It sounds like it was complications of kidney disease, as well as he had been recovering from a heart operation. I don't know in terms of what he did after boxing.
Unfortunately, he came around during a time when he probably wasn't compensated that well, or at least, I would hope he was. But, he especially defecting from Cuba, they most likely took advantage of him. So, interesting, because I couldn't find out if he stayed in the sport, if he went off and did something else. All I know is he passed at 59 years old, which I was hoping you could, I know you're into all of that gory stuff leading up to it. But how did he do in title bout, my man?
In title bout, where are the results? Here we go. I put him in. He did fight for the middleweight title. He came up short against Benvenuti, but the bulk of his career was at welterweight. So I only put him in at welter. I put him in against the current top guy, which is Keith one-time Thurman. And when they fought the first time, Luis Manuel Rodriguez won a majority decision. Judge Adelaide Bird scored it 114-114, and then she was overruled by
corruption. That was corrupt. It was corrupt. I tell you, she got paid off. Even in title bout, she's corrupt. She's not that. She's no good. I'm sorry. What would the rest of the score?
This sport, just keep doing this. This sport.
I know.
It breaks my heart. They do this to a kid.
I know. Oh, God.
So the other scores were 118-110 and 116-112. All four. A majority decision in favor of Rodriguez. No knockdowns in that fight. And then when they fought 100 times, Luis Manuel Rodriguez, El Feo, dominates, winning 94 victories. Just Thurman won just 4 of them. They drew 2 times. El Feo knocked Thurman out 25 times, and in his 4 victories, one time scored 3 knockouts.
Well, you know what? It goes to show you a lot of times the title bout championship game how they view some of these fighters, and Luis Manuel Rodriguez quite easily could be an extremely underrated fighter in a lot of people's minds, but not in title bouts. So. Impressive there. So great job as usual, Alex. Our blast from the past, Luis Manuel Rodriguez. He had a career record, 107 wins, 49 coming by knockout, giving him a 40% knockout ratio. He lost 13 fights in his 121 bouts, was stopped only 3 times. He fought 929 rounds throughout his 16-year career, was a former world welterweight champion, and was inducted in the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1997. And Alex, great job as usual. And just to close here, you were part of our post-fight show following Triple G and Canelo.
Actually, I didn't make it. I wanted to be, but I was towing cars.
Oh, you weren't? I could have sworn you were on. Oh, hey, well, let me... Take 2. Hey, Alex, we really missed you on our post-fight show, and I was wondering, now that you had a chance to, digest the fight a couple of days. Yeah, I could. What an idiot I am. Hey, yeah, I was half asleep anyway during that show. But what was your thoughts on the fight, the decision on Adelaide? Bird, that corrupt. She's crazy. She's right. No. What was your thoughts?
I can't stand when they do this to a fighter. I thought that Golovkin won. I had it 7-5 in favor of Triple G, 115-113. The only rounds I gave to Canelo were the 2nd, 3rd, 10th, 11th, and 12th. The rounds that I thought were were pretty close, were the 1, 2, 3, 4th, the 4th, the 5th, the 7th, and the 10th. I guess even my card was different from Harold Letterman's by 1 round. He gave the 10th to Canelo. He gave the 10th to Golovkin. I gave it to Canelo. Canelo fought in bursts. It was rare that he sustained an attack enough to take a whole round, in my opinion. That said, I think what Roy Jones to me, a lot of people don't like him on social media, but I think he's quickly becoming the best HBO has.
I don't know. He may be the best they have, but they've really... between the three of them...
I admit, might not be saying much.
Right. Well, Jim Lampley... Alex, I didn't mean to cut you off, but Jim Lampley, he's lost the ability to call a fight. This is a guy that relies on the punch stats, and even when he doesn't believe the punch stats, he still stands behind them. It was crazy to listen to him during that 1 round. It was early in the fight, and he's going, "Oh, geez, punch stats says that he threw more punches. I kind of thought it went the other way. Oh, well, I guess punch stat, and it's like, are you kidding me? You don't know how to watch a fight. That's two other guys hitting the keyboard. I mean, I just don't get it.
I think that was actually in the Diego De La Hoya fight, but you're right. He openly, I think it was like the second or third round of the Diego De La Hoya fight, but he openly said, like, look at this. He was stunned. He didn't know how to compute because it was like the CompuBox show that Diego De La Hoya landed fewer punches, but he won the round. Yeah. I thought he won the round. So, I mean, right there you had a moment where Lampley should have said, hey, maybe relying solely on CompuBox numbers for everything I say is not a good idea. But yeah, that's what he does. I think, to me, this is the same thing Kovalev did when he fought Ward the first time. He let Ward win those last couple rounds. Vegas traditionally likes the guy who finished stronger. Look at the second Mosley fight. Look at the Trinidad De La Hoya fight. Look at De La Hoya Corte. A lot of close fights. The guy who rallies in the last couple rounds a lot of times comes away with the decision. So if you're going into Vegas without being the power broker in terms of the promotional team, you better win those last couple rounds. Golovkin left the door open for Canelo to steal it because, as I mentioned, I thought he lost the last three. Again, the 10th was very close. But like Andre Ward did, and Roy Jones was the only one who mentioned this, what Canelo was doing was just countering him very well and landing hard when he countered. Now, he did not do it as effectively as Ward. But in those early rounds, Roy Jones did point that out, that because he was landing really well, that even though his few punches, that was all he was doing, and it was Golovkin carrying most of the round, jabbing away, those few but firm punches were enough to win some of those early rounds. But as the fight wore on, I'm sorry, you just got to give the rounds when they're close to the guy who's throwing more punches, not the guy who's taking breaks, circling, laying in the ropes, letting the other guy get off. I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer.
I agree. And it looked like Triple G was the Mexican fighter. But anyway, Alex, great job as usual. And we'll look forward to you, if you can, later in the week or next week, my man.
Sounds good, Billy C. Take care.
All right, brother. That's Alex Perpali giving us the blast from the past and his thoughts on the Triple G Canelo fight. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, Sal, Rocky Senacola will be back, and we got some emails to read. So don't go nowhere.
Billy C. will be right back. Part of the Billy C. Boxing Network.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and three-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Are you...
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could join us. And joining us again after a trip to the bathroom and refilling his coffee cup is my man Sal Rocky Senecola. And, during the break, I see you cracking yourself up over there with the sound. It's a good thing that you entertain yourself, Sal.
I always have, Billy. I always have. I was always an entertainer.
Got some emails. Just one thing. Alex was giving us his thoughts on the Triple G Canelo fight. And Larry had a great segment from a commission's point of view on Natalie Bird. I don't want to keep patting myself on the back, but I will, Sal.
I think you should.
I should.
It doesn't happen often. So take advantage of it.
Doesn't happen often. That's it. Oh well, I'm sorry, we lost Sal. Sal's disconnected. Forgive
me, Guru. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, but like I said about Triple G. Fighting Canelo, I said Canelo's biggest weakness is the fact that he can't stand in front, and the more that he has to stand in front. I'm sorry, that he can't land effective punches on the move, and with his game plan, Sal, and now that we've had time to look at it and dissect it, etc. It almost seems like his game plan was to utilize his speed and hand movement and footwork and everything else. But his inability to land effective punching on the move made him reset, and that fell right into Triple G's game plan. And I think ultimately, just like I thought it would, it in my mind, it lost him the fight, even though officially it was a draw. I mean, what do you think?
I think you're right on, Bill. And I know I seem to always agree with you, but when great minds get together, they think alike. I saw the same situation, and Alex made a good point. He said that he saw Canelo do what he had to do in small spurts or whatever. He didn't follow up or sustain an attack, and like I said, Triple G, he kept cutting the ring off. He kept, as some people may say, following him around the ring, but he was being effective with some of his aggressive movement, and I think that he landed more of the punches. I just don't see how anybody could argue the fact that Triple G did not outbox or outpoint or outhit Canelo Alvarez. And based on that, he should have won that fight by a unanimous decision, a split decision, but he should have walked away and he should have won that fight.
Well, despite not winning, the WBC still gave him the belt, which I find, don't you have to win a fight to get a belt? Anyway, because he got that special belt, because that's what we need in boxing, more belts, but
more belts.
Or suspenders. Hey, we should try winning, I think we just, I think we just got landed. I think we should start awarding fighters suspenders instead of belts. What do you think?
I think that you are 100% correct again, Billy C.
I know.
I think suspenders.
I'm on a roll.
Right.
I'm on a roll.
I
like. And speaking of rolls, I'd like to have a ham, egg, and cheese on a roll if anybody's got one handy. But anyway, we got a couple of emails here. This first one is from Jesse. He says, "Hey, Billy C and Sal, I would like to see a rematch, but if not, then I want to see Triple G fight Charlo or Jacobs or." Have Canelo fight either of those guys or even Demetrius Andrade. I heard supposedly that next year they might match Canelo versus Spence, and Spence is just outgrowing the welterweight division. I was hearing a Spanish music radio station, and they took callers' thoughts, and supposedly a good majority of the callers said they saw Triple G win, and they will no longer watch Canelo fights. Were you surprised fans were booing the scorecards and Canelo? They were booing, I think, Canelo when he was talking. Maybe they were booing the scorecards, but just like fans booed Timothy Bradley after the Manny Pacquiao fight, Canelo didn't score the cards. I mean, you can't play. And listen, I don't think any less of Canelo. I happen to like Canelo, and I just thought that Triple G was going to win the fight. I think they weren't booing. I hope they weren't booing at Canelo. I think they were booing at the judges. And as far as other fights, I don't want to see Triple G fight anybody else. I mean, to tell you the truth, the rematch with Daniel Jacobs, I wouldn't mind. But I want to see Triple G fight one of two fights. I want to see him fight Canelo in a rematch, or I want to see him fight Billy Joe Saunders and get all the belts and walk away. There's two fights left for Triple G, in my opinion, a rematch and or. Actually, there's probably one fight left for Triple G, Sal. Either the rematch or Billy Joe Saunders. I don't need to see him fight these up-and-coming guys. Floyd never fought. Floyd retired ducking every young up-and-coming champion. Why should Triple G be an old fighter and fans want to force him to fight the young gun? I don't get it.
Two more fights. I said before last week, I said Triple G's got maybe 2 or 3 fights in him. He's got 2 more fights. He's got the Canelo Alvarez rematch, and he's got the other title belt.
Billy Joe Saunders.
Billy Joe Saunders. And then he could ride off into the sunset. Whichever fight comes first, I hope he takes the Canelo fight first if that happens. But if it's not going to happen, yes, in the new year around Christmas or right around the new year, he should fight Billy Joe Saunders, win that title bout. Use it as leverage, as you suggested, saying, "Hey, I'm retiring. I got all the belts." And Canelo, you blew it. Unless you want to sit back down at the negotiation table, and we'll redo this contract. And then that might be a good way to go. But he's got 2 more fights in him, and those are the 2 he should take. No being fodder, an old fodder. To
what about the mother? What about the mutter? You talking about the fodder? You're talking about the fodder? What about the mutter? Come on, man. Come on.
Stop horsing around.
Hey, listen. We got another comment from Jesse. He says Luis Ortiz versus Wilder is interesting, but will you give credit, Billy C, if he doesn't box? Wilder doesn't box. He just throws his bombs and covers up. And he said, did you watch the Fox 1 Sports? Yes, we talked about that. I will give credit to Deontay Wilder if he beats Luis Ortiz, and I don't care how he beats him. If he beats him just throwing bombs, or if he beats him with a well-executed game plan, I will 100% give Deontay Wilder credit, and I want to give Deontay Wilder credit. Don't get me wrong. I like Deontay Wilder. It's just that I don't like him pounding his chest saying he's the best when he hasn't fought anybody. But yes, I will definitely give him credit. One last email, Sal. This one's from Joel. Where's my T-shirt? He says, where's my T-shirt? No, he didn't say that. Joel says, hey, Billy C, there are 2 small boxing events set as pay-per-views for the next 2 weeks. This Saturday, Joseph Parker versus Huey Fury will air live. What are you, Joel, a commercial for the pay-per-view? We'll air live for $25. Why? What's he been hanging out with Rocky Sinicola? He says, while next Saturday, Juan Manuel Lopez against Jason Veliz on pay-per-view will air for $40. Do you and Sal think these 2 events being set up as pay-per-view events as opposed to being free? Do you think these events are worthy of their price? Curious to get your thoughts. Well, here's the thing. Do I think that they're worthy of pay-per-views? No, not here in the States. But sometimes you have no choice if you want to watch the fight. If it's available via a stream that you have to pay for, or via television that you have to pay for, and it's the only option, well, then it's up to you. Is the fight worth the money? You know, Joseph Parker against Huey Fury for $25. There's nothing else really big this weekend. Maybe it's worth it. I don't know. As far as Juanma Lopez, I mean, Juanma Lopez is an exciting fighter, whether he wins or loses. But Jason, you know what? It all matters. For me, sometimes I gotta get the fights, but it all matters. It's up to you, Joel. I mean, if you think it's worth it, then you get it. But good question. I mean, the bottom line, Sal, is if it's your only option, you got to fork over the cash, right?
Oh, you do. And at $25, it's one to consider if you want to watch the fight. I mean, I'd prefer seeing that at $19.95. But
I'd prefer seeing it on NBC, but that's besides the point.
I know.
And I think it's streams should be for free. But anyway, hey, on this day, September 20th in 1997, Lou DeValley knocks out Eddie Smulders in the 8th round to win the vacant WBA World Light Heavyweight title, and that took place in Germany. On this day, September 20th, 1975, on this day, 1958, Hogan Kid Bassie stops Willie Pep in the 9th round to improve to 57 wins, 11 losses, and a couple of draws in their fight that took place at the Boston Garden. On this day in 1906, Jack Johnson, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, wins a 6th-round newspaper decision over Joe Jeanette in their heavyweight fight that took place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And on this day in 1972, the late, great Muhammad Ali stops Floyd Patterson in the 7th round to retain his NABF heavyweight title, and that took place at Madison Square Garden in New York City. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our show for today. But Sal, we got a busy show scheduled for tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. But hey, I tell you what, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with, you're cracking me up because I got you on the screen right now. So everybody else is watching Sal.
Sorry.
So
I don't know when I'm on and when I'm not.
Until then,
you, Bill. It's all your entertainment.
Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.